YouTube, what is up? We are back with another day, and we just landed from Boston. We were there visiting the girlfriend Wednesday through today, which is Monday. Over the Halloween weekend, it was a pretty awesome weekend. We got to see Sony's Fedora live, and it was an amazing concert during Halloween. Just very good vibes. If you guys haven't been to one of his concerts, I can't recommend it enough. It was actually one of my favorite EDM concerts I've ever been to. Just good vibes all around. But the body is feeling the travel. Again, this is my weekly or monthly, I should say, travel bitch, because every time I get off an airplane, I feel like absolute dog water, and today is one of those days. And I actually got pretty good sleep this weekend. Wasn't too much of a degenerate. We took a little shrooms at the concert, but that was pretty much it. But girlfriend is living in the Harvard Law School dorms, and I have never slept on a smaller bed, and we don't really have access to the best foods. They got like a little shared kitchen, so it wasn't the best diet weekend. Not that we went fully off the rails, just that we didn't have access to like our protein constantly like we do here. And every time I just gotta find a better method of flying on a plane and not getting absolutely bodied. Because today, I was drinking my water, I was walking on the plane ride. I was the weirdo that was standing in the aisle the entire time because I know my hips lock up if I sit on an airplane that long. And I was moving left and right, and we still feel pretty beat up. But I'm hoping once we get the juices flowing, the body feels a little bit better here. And honestly, that is the best thing to do, to just hop back on the train after a flight. But we got a really cool lift with the Lance Brooks. That video is already posted, and that was really fun in Boston. Got to go to a Harvard Dartmouth Ivy League football game, which was super fun to watch. It was just an all-in-all great weekend. And I kind of love all these little like mini vacations because it's like I talked about it before, but like when you degen max, not that we even degen max this weekend, but just stepping away from what you typically do. Honestly, like forcing yourself out of routine once you're in routine for long enough. This isn't for the people that don't know how to get into routine. But after being in routine for a little bit, just taking a step back out, and then almost like makes you really hungry to get back into routine, and really hungry to start lifting weights again, and really hungry to get like back into your home base and start working again. At least it works for me. So I'm excited to be back this week, excited to be grinding this week. Today we do have some heavy weights planned, and we do have some jumps planned that I would like to send. And if the body complies, we will be doing that. But it's a good setup to get back on track this week after being gone for, I think we were gone for 6 days. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Yeah, so we were gone for 6 days traveling. And it's nice to get back on the horse. I got that like a little creative juices flowing, and I love that feel. And a lot of times that happens right after degen maxing during a break. So let's get the juices flowing. Let's get the body moving. Let's set up this week. Let's get back into routine. Let's go. So now we are on the final progression of this double broad jump experiment that we've been doing with these 10 pounds. Then we go body weights after these next 2 weeks. Again, the goal with this 10 pounder is to hit 19 feet. If we hit 19 with the 10 pounder, we're definitely gonna hit 20 with the body weight. It's just a mindset thing at that point. Bodies, again, feeling a little stiff. So if we don't hit 19 this week, there'll be a good little base mark for next week. Not gonna be too down about this after our huge PR with the 15 pounder last week, but still wanna push these marks, get these reps in. Let's go. Third set here. Ooh, yeah, right at 17.6. Oh my God. We got a long ways to go, boys. Let's go. Ooh, 18 feet there. That's a little improvement. Open it up. Let's do 2 more jumps here. Let's go. A little bit more springy off the ground. Sticking. Oh, that's disgusting. Ooh, right at 18 again. We're gonna call it on that. Next week we will destroy that mark once we're not coming straight off an airplane. Let's get to some vertical jumps here. Good little warm up for the snatches. All right, now for our jump mat verticals today, we're doing PVC pipe, taking the hands out of it. We'll probably load these up. Haven't decided really what I'm gonna do, but I'm keep these spicy. I'll probably do these for 3 weeks and then start adding a barbell and doing weight. But taking the hands away, squatting down, driving back up, trying to hit our highest PR we can here. Let's go. Ooh, 25-2 to start. Again, just changing the stimulus up on these jump mat jumps. Keep it spicy, keep it interesting, keep drawing intent into that vertical jump, and we'll keep cycling back in standing jumps and approach jumps as we go so that we know that we're making progress. We know we're going in the right direction. Well, we keep it interesting, and we're still getting really good reps in today. These actually don't feel as shitty as the double broad jumps. Let's go. Ooh, 25-1. One more. Give me a 26. Ooh, 26-4. There we go. That's a good way to end. Let's get to some snatches. We got some heavy ones, baby. We got 3 sets of 1 at 230 pounds. Bar's moving, decent. Body feels like poop, but the bar is moving decent. So should be able to rip these up and get them. Let's go. Ooh. Woo. Damn. Everything hurts. That bar moved pretty good. Let's go. Shit. All right, gonna rip this second set. Hopefully it's clean. Then we're gonna rant. Then we're gonna hit our third set. Then we're gonna hit some cleans. Then we're probably gonna rant. Then we're gonna hit some front squats. Then we're gonna go home and eat some rotisserie chicken. That's a pretty good video right there. Pretty good day. Let's get it. Ooh. Woo. All right, so before we hit this third set, I'm gonna answer a question. How much do you find is necessary when it comes to individualization on programs? And this is probably maybe a little bit of a hot take, but most individualization, especially the ones that coaches sell, is a scam. And it's pieces of candy they give you to make you feel like you're special. And when you feel like you're special, you're more willing to give up your wallet and continue to pay them because they're giving you the special care that you feel like you need. And again, if that gets the athletes to do what they need to do, or that gets the client to do what they need to do, that's perfect. When I work with my football teams, I give them individualized combo programs, individualized bigs programs, and individualized wide receiver programs, and the shifts are maybe max 10% difference between the programs. But when they feel like they're doing something that's special for them, they do it, and they give a lot more intent to it, so I stick with that candy approach. But those athletes are not athletes that are paying me out of their pocket, and I'm not selling them on that individualization, especially when we're in the college sector. For most athletes, what they need to be told is you are not special, you do not need anything individualized, you just need to work and you need to show up. I really think the individualization comes from preparing them for their sports and preparing them for the thing that they need to do, whether that's running volume, strength, power, speed demands. But a lot of that is just done with a really general program that emphasizes, that's a pretty good catch, emphasizes those things concurrently. And if you have a group of 20 athletes that play the same sports, especially the same position or similar positions where it's not as massively different, it's not like a specialized position, I would say, like, let's say a goalie versus somebody else that is playing soccer or hockey, where it's obviously a little bit different there. But most athletes just generally need to become stronger and need to become bigger and need to become faster, or one of those avenues, or more powerful or more resilient. And if you just have a program that holistically focuses on these things together, you shouldn't be changing everything up per athlete. That just means your program's not well-rounded enough to be able to focus on these things. And again, the 10% of individualization that can come about is maybe just working on an athlete's specific weakness or an athlete's thing that they specifically struggle with on the field. But again, even with those athletes, even if it is a 10% difference, that means 90% of the program's the same, because they still need to be working on either the things that they're good at or the things they're good enough at. Well, they're working on the things they suck at, and you don't want to just change up the program and get rid of their strengths to focus on their weaknesses. So when it comes to individualization, what you're getting when most coaches are telling you that, for the most part, is a scam. It's a piece of candy. Or maybe just a coach that doesn't know how to program holistically enough to be able to target all the things you need to target while still being able to work on your weaknesses, which I have found to be pretty easy when it comes to programming for most team sport athletes. And again, this changes based off population. If you have an athlete that can't do a specific movement, you obviously have to individualize. Or you have an athlete that's a 1%er out of a 1%er, and they need something to really drive them into that next 1%. Again, it changes a little bit. But 90% of individualization is marketed to the 90% of athletes that are not that 1%, that are not even that top 90%. And I think many times we are selling them on a lie that they need something special, when what really is going to make them special is just showing up consistently to a program that holistically trains all of the qualities they need to train, right? So for the most part, when it comes to individualization, I'm working on very small, minute things and tweaks, maybe giving them a piece of candy to feel special when I'm working with team sport athletes, to draw intent into their lifts and make them feel like they're special. But the truth is, most athletes need many of the same things, and most athletes are not in that 10%, that top 10%, or even that top 1%. And most of the time, the athletes that think they need the individualization, the reason they think that is because they don't have any of their general blocks developed, so they're not very good at the sport, so they feel like they need something special to catch up, instead of just admitting to themselves that they're not where they need to be and they need to just go grind and work on the things that every athlete needs to work on, and it just takes a little bit more time. But that's the beauty of this whole athletic journey, is that you have time. Even if you are in the high school, college sector, I just see so many athletes piss away years of training, focusing on finding that holy grail, focusing on finding that magic individualized program for them. And instead of putting their head down and working for that 4 years and changing who they are as an athlete, which dude, if you just put your head down and train for a year, you can completely change who you are as an athlete. And then maybe we can talk about some of that individualization that you need to do. These athletes look for that holy grail. These athletes look for that special sauce. They waste these years, and then they are just playing a catch-up game. But if you have 4 years in college, if you have 1 year in college, the amount of work you can get done and the amount of transformation you can get done by just throwing out the worries of looking for the special sauce and just being where your feet are and working on the things you need to work on in front of you, you will get that individualization, that special sauce in the program that's right in front of you, because that is the special sauce. It's showing up, it's being consistent, and it's working hard, and it's giving intent in your training. And it's doing so consistently over a long period of time. So most of individualization is a scam. I don't think most athletes need it as much as they think they need it. And I think you're better off working where your feet are rather than trying to outsmart a program or outsmart a coach, right? So let's get this third set here. Let's go. Ooh. Oh, let's go. Get to some cleans. All right, now for these cleans, we got little drop sets. I haven't done this before, but we got 330 on the bar here. We got 1 rep at 330, then 2 reps at 290, 295-ish. Building up this Friday, we are going heavy on the snatches and heavy on the cleans again. So prepping up for that, cutting down volume a little bit, cutting down the weight a little bit for this Friday, and should be a fun little mini peak 4 weeks or a couple weeks into this new program. So let's get it. 330 on the bar here. Power's not gonna happen today because the twitch is not there, but the bar is moving pretty good. So we're gonna make this rep clean, then rip 295 for 2, then we got some front squats. Let's go. Woo! Woo! Now we got 295 on the bar for 2 sets. Again, this is the first time doing a drop set. I kind of like the philosophy of hitting something heavy, backing off and ripping some weight with a little bit more velocity. We'll see if we can get the turnover. That 330 felt pretty good. Just didn't trust myself to power it without dropping underneath it and like getting that catch and stick position, but 295 we should be able to, so we're gonna try that. We got 2 reps here, let's go. Woo. There we go. All right, third set here. Let's move it crispy, let's go. Let's go, get to some front squats. Now we got 3 sets of 2 here at 325 on these front squats. Again, dumping down the weight just a little bit for our heavy session on Friday and preparing for that. Let's go. Ooh, let's go. All right, before we hit the second set, I'm gonna answer the question, do you train Gen Pop clients? If so, is there any difference in the way that you train them? And this kind of fits in nicely with the first rant. I don't plan any of these rants, I just pick 2 questions on the Q&A and kind of answer them. But in the opposite regard, where you have a lot of coaches selling athletes on the specialness of their elite athlete programs and tricking athletes into they need special sauce to reach that next level of athleticism. I think you have the same kind of scammers on the opposite end with the Gen Pop, where they're like, we don't train you like an athlete, we train you like a Gen Pop person. And you're gonna get hurt if you train with one of these serious meathead trainers that trains athletes. And it's like kind of the same bullshit on equal ends of the spectrum. One where they're upselling athletes on the specialness that they need in a program, and one on when they're downselling general pop clients on how they can't do anything in their program without getting hurt. And it's the same kind of marketing strategy on the opposite ends of the spectrum. And I think the first question you need to ask when you're working with Gen Pop clients is, what does Gen Pop mean to you? Are they 5 years removed from being a Division I athlete, or literally any athlete in general, or are they Gen Pop because they haven't trained ever in their lives? Because those are 2 very different specimens of athletes, but they both can be considered Gen Pop since they're both not in collegiate sports anymore. And I'd say our bias of clients that come to us are obviously ex-athlete Gen Pop people. They consider themselves Gen Pop because they're not training anymore, they're not in a sport anymore, or maybe they're just doing weekend warrior activities, but they have a massive movement literacy built up from their previous years of collegiate or high school training experience. But we also train the opposite end of the spectrum, where they haven't touched a barbell ever, or haven't trained ever, and they're just looking to make movement fun again. And those are honestly some of my favorite clients to work with, and we have a couple of them with us in the mornings. And I'm just here to tell you, even with those clients, if you train them generally, and you work on the qualities that the human body desires, which is speed, strength, power, a little mobility in there, a little movement in there, and you make training fun, you're gonna get really good results. You don't have to dumb down your program in the sense of like changing up all your philosophies. You just have to meet that athlete where they're at. So instead of doing something like a back bend on the ground, we're like bending and just touching the spine, but it's the same movement categories of what we're trying to train in that athlete. Or instead of loading up a barbell to 500 pounds, we're giving them a dumbbell and having them goblet squat, but we're still squatting, right? It's the same movement principles, it's the same movement philosophies, just regress to where that athlete is, or where that Gen Pop client is. And again, it doesn't change because they're Gen Pop, it changes to meet them where they're at. And every Gen Pop client, just like every athlete, will be at different parts of their movement journey. And they're gen pop people that can do things better than athletes, in quotations, that we train, and regressing their program and dumbing it down because they're just categorized in this random box of a gen pop person is silly. And I've talked about this before on the podcast and the YouTube, but I think it's silly for a current gen pop client that used to be an athlete to stop pursuing athletic events and stop pursuing athletic excellence because they're no longer in a college sport or no longer in a high school sport. I think movements in athletic pursuit should be something that's ingrained in your life. And again, that doesn't mean you're trying to be a 1%er of a 1%er, but it means you're trying to become a 1%er of your own human potential on this planet. And I think downselling clients on that is just as scammy as upselling athletes on how specialized of a program they need. And maybe for some of the moms and dads and even grandpas that we train, because we have some grandpas on the online insider, but 1% for them is again, just picking up their groceries and moving pain-free. And that's their 1%. That's the thing we're trying to push them to do. But we're still trying to push them to do that. And we're not dumbing down our program to do that. We are still training them in the same way that we're training every other athlete that is trying to reach that 1% of the 1% and trying to get them closer to their goals. So we're still bending the spine. We're still sprinting. Again, regress to their abilities. Maybe that sprinting for them is literally just a build-up or a jog until we get to a point in which they can sprint. It's lifting some weights, it's pushing, it's pulling, it's hinging, teaching the body how to jump and land. And it's keeping all these principles in a program with a simple regression-progression model that doesn't include taking all of this stuff out because now they're in a certain population of people that can no longer do these things. I think that's a silly approach that really doesn't get the athletes or the clients where they want to go. So our Gen Pop and athlete programs look very similar on paper with what we were doing. It just changes on how we are doing that what. Again, it's regressions from sprinting to jogging or regressions from max barbell squatting to teaching them how to goblet squat. But the principles and the what stays exactly the same. The how is what changes with these clients, right? So yes, we changed Gen Pop clients, and it's something I get a deep joy from doing. And I think it's something that's a little bit scammy and marketed in a weird way with the Boyleism that's going around everywhere and the McGillism that goes around everywhere. That creates a lot of neuroticism in these clients because of a random age they reached or a certain amount of years they've been out of sport. And I don't think that's the best way to approach fitness for these clients. I think it makes it less fun. I think it makes it more work-based. And I think the more you do fitness for something else, for the specific purpose of doing something else, the less motivation you actually have to do the fitness, just because people are not very good at connecting those two things. And you need to find a reason for them to do fitness for the reason of fitness while building up towards that goal. And for me, that's just making training fun and drawing intent in the training. But if you take that away from the training, it just turns into more work, more delayed gratification for something, which is probably the rest of that client's life with their corporate jobs and the work that they have and the family that they have. And I think you're much better off just giving them a reason to train in the moment, and that's gonna get them to where they wanna go, and not dumbing it down to where they feel like it's work showing up and I'm working too so I can pick up my bag of groceries and feel good while I do so. That's just not a very good long-term motivational strategy for most clients, and I don't think you have to do it that way. I think you just need to regress and progress for these clients and meet them where they're at, just like you would any athlete that you're training. But you don't have to dumb it down instantly just because they're in some random population of clients that you think is incapable of doing these movements, right? Let them tell you they're incapable of doing these movements and then adjust your program based off that. Don't do it preemptively for them and take away their rights of pushing their athletic development, right? So let's get the second set. Let's go. Oof. Ooh, let's go. All right, third and final set, then we're gonna go pick up. We got a Holy Land's rotisserie chicken. If you're in Minnesota and you haven't tried a Holy Land's rotisserie chicken, or you're visiting Minnesota and you haven't tried a Holy Land's rotisserie chicken, it is the best rotisserie chicken you will have in your entire life. And I'm gonna rip one of those as soon as we're done with this set. So let's get it, let's earn it. Let's chop some wood. Oh yeah, let's go. Woo! Appreciate you guys watching. Be back in action tomorrow. Hopefully a little more live. Keep chopping wood.